Sorry about that. I just realized I was muted. This is the last Q&A, so forgive that mistake. It's been a long 11 days, but I'm happy to be here celebrating the last day of the San Diego Latino Film Festival. We started September 17th. We screened over 140 feature and short-length films. We've had some amazing Q&As. It's just overwhelming to see the amount of support we've received as we transferred over to our virtual platform after our in-person festival was postponed back in March. Everyone has been super understanding, super generous, super patient. The filmmakers, the sponsors, the community partners, the guests, everyone has just been such a joy. And it makes doing this year after year so substantial personally. And, I hope to be able to screen movies at a movie theater in the near future and to see all of you in person. But for now, feel free to send us comments about Amor de Película via the Eventive platform. You can chat out your questions or comments for Sebastián, and then I will paste them into the chat box and we'll see them as a lower third. Or if you're watching along on our Facebook channel, the San Diego Latino Film Festival Facebook channel, or the YouTube channel, you can also type out questions and I'll make sure that Sebastián gets them. Okay, let's bring on Sebastián Mega Diaz, director of Amor de Película. Hi, Sebastián, how are you?
Hello, Moises, how are you?
Thank you for being patient. I just ran over here. Well, not literally ran, virtually ran, clicked around. I was wrapping up another Q&A. Thank you for waiting and for your patience.
No, thank you.
I spoke to you. I spoke to you last week, so forgive me if some of the questions are similar, but we probably have listeners who did not listen to that Q&A maybe, and who might want to hear some of the insights. So I'll repeat a few. What you've created such an innovative, forward-thinking romantic film, perhaps punctuated by the first 15 minutes or 10 or 15 minutes that we discussed last week. But I guess before we do a dive into your film, I'm curious to know what you think romantic comedies or romantic films or romantic dramas should be like. Like, what would set them apart moving forward, since you're obviously capable of creating such an original one?
Thank you, Ethan, for your comment. It's a pleasure to be here. Well, romantic comedies, I think I've seen a lot of romantic comedies, and actually, in the process of writing the film, even when I was rewriting and also like restructuring the film, I did like this sort of schoolish thing that was like, I grabbed the best romantic comedies that I understood I liked the most. And I made a story and structure analysis of each one of them, and a theme analysis. For example, one of the films that I had as a reference, it's to put it in a way, was 500 Days of Summer, and then another one. Actually, the first idea of the voiceover of the first part of the film was to be like this older man like objective narrator, and it was in the process of the editing that I decided to well, actually, it was like I had some feedback of the idea of the film. The first cut had my own voice as the narrator, as usually first cuts do. As I screened the film, a lot of people told me that they felt like the main character in the first part of the film needed like some kind of context, and the voice made it like if it was his own voice, as the film will envelop like this idea that he was the director and the actor, and then in the fiction, but then in the reality he was director and actor, and 7 years later. That whole concept of him owning the movie actually made it simpler for the viewer, that the voiceover had such like the screenwriter's voice. It was like a screenwriter like telling the story. So I actually switched it over to that idea. But 500 Days of Summer was one. About Time was another one. And one of the things I found out most romantic comedies had that I liked was that they were, apart from the stylish part, because 500 Days of Summer is very stylish in its cinematography. But About Time was another one from Richard Curtis. I really like his cinema. But their movies weren't weren't like the classic romantic comedies, because they didn't end up with the kiss in the end, right? Actually, the About Time it's more of a conceptual thing about how we value time and our actions and our consequences, and instead of the boy meets girl classic movie. And 500 Days of Summer actually looks through the whole relationship from beginning to end, and puts it together, even contrasting the beautiful and the sad or the sour moments of the relationship. So it wasn't actually about boy meets girl and that's it, right? They kiss, and it didn't have the story structure that other films like Notting Hill, for example, or other romantic comedies usually have. The boy meets girl in the first act, they hate each other. In the second act, they start liking each other, but something happens, and then one feels some way, and the other one starts to notice, but the other one doesn't want to. So at the end, the second part of the second act, they actually bond, but then they reject each other, and they like drift apart. And at the end, one of them has the revelation and runs towards the other one. And
at the airport.
Generally at the airport. or any crowded street with lots of cars and rain and stuff like that.
Do you know what movie has several of those scenes? My Best Friend's Wedding. Have you seen My Best Friend's Wedding?
Of course. Yeah, of course. Well, yeah, and that one has an interesting point. Well, you could grab also For Weddings and a Funeral in another way, or well, there are a lot of them. Most of them with Hugh Grant. but besides that, they generally have that like structure, that kind of way of approaching. And I think that actually what I felt about it was that it I mean, there's this thing that happens in a relationship that has like fire at first, but then there has to be something deeper to sustain in time, and that was actually love is about, like building something that's not only sparks and not only superficial, but some like deep connection between them. So that's why I think that the classic structure is not always right, because it generally is about some superficial misunderstanding that tries to come together at the end. But for example, what happens at About Time is that actually they like each other right away, and they like match, and that's everything works. And then the other parts of the movie, the second act and third act, they will encounter problems that life itself brings to them, but it's not like something that's that's keeping them apart, but reality is your best obstacle without love having to be one.
Yeah. Well, I could spend hours talking to you about romantic comedies because I'm also a big fan. But let's talk about your romantic film.
Okay.
We talked last week, but I think
Of course.
it bears repeating. Inspiration, the structure of those of our initial, of what we perceive to be the official introduction to the film, only to have the rug pulled out of us when we realize that there's a bit of a clever device going on. So maybe tell us a little bit about this inception and the inception of this device and how it was born.
Well, it actually came from that idea that went like it actually came from from watching a lot of romantic comedies and actually being in the same situation that the two characters have at the first 15 minutes when they stop watching the movie and they are at home like watching a romantic comedy, but it's their romantic comedy in that case. In this case, a short film. But I found two ideas that actually matched, which were like on one hand, I am very interested in the contrast of cinematic aesthetics, right? I tried. I don't know if I got there, but I tried to give the first part like a more like two different aesthetics. The second part it's a handheld camera. It's more like reality vibes, like much more alive. I worked a lot with the choreography, with the actors, like moving on the set, especially with in the most important scenes where they had like fights or discussions, where the camera had like some a sense of freedom sometimes, like it moved in some scenes. I couldn't do it in any scenes, but we tried to establish a handheld camera that felt alive against the first part of the film where there were always like travelings and a very steady camera and like quick pans and like all those kind of cinematic devices like the voiceover and I try to make a contrast between reality and fiction in the aesthetic part, and on the other hand there was this concept that I was interested in going through, that was like the idea that there's something that is falling in love, and the other thing is that the concept of love as a construct, as something that you build in a relationship. I'm sorry, with the other person, where you try to make like I mean, love is about compromise, it's about sharing a common project for both of them, for both parts, interested parts, and it's about like caring and time, right? Caring about the other one and giving them time. All those things put together, and it's not necessarily what romantic comedies usually, with this structure that we were talking about, usually talk about, because generally romantic comedies end up with the first kiss or the first flame about of connection between two people, and that can end like in a week later, right? It could basically end up a week later, and that'll be it. But so I wanted to represent in a way the contrast of falling in love versus actual love, a project together, like bonding with another person, having projects in together, and like using the two different aesthetics, and again, like this is the romantic comedy, the fiction, the fling, the sparkle, the falling in love, but love is about like reality, sour moments, and nice ones, like all together put, and all together in one movie. So it was actually about that idea.
Well, you strike such an elegant kind of balance between some of the film's more I guess common tropes that it borrows from the romantic comedy genre, and like this real life stuff that gets in the way perhaps of already a unionship. Tell me a little bit about striking this balance, and whether it was more of a process in the writing or in the research. Like, tell me about how you managed to strike this nice balance between these different aspects.
You mean between like the romantic comedies like feeling within the reality feeling?
Because I mean, there's obviously issues in the film, like career ambitions, or someone advancing, someone kind of falling behind. There's the issue of that we learn about the baby, with like expanding of families and complications that arise from that. So yeah, there's a lot of like real life stuff that happens in the movie, but still it maintains kind of I don't know, the trappings of a romantic comedy so nicely. So I guess tell me about how you struck the balance.
Well, actually, this movie happened to be a lot of autobiographical. I'm sorry.
Okay.
So there's something that happened there. But besides that, the thing is that I wanted the second part to feel real, and I even the thing was I started out like thinking of the second part of the film like a more dramatic film, right? Like real dramatic dance. The baby part was a lot heavier in its content. The struggle was worse, and throughout the film, I was advised by the producers because of the genre of the film, and another aspects that made the film as a package, as a project, as an item that would be marketable. They said, well, try to add a bit of comedy, like don't go all the way to the dramatic tense part. So I tried to keep the part that were like I always try to be as real within the genre the as I could, right? The scene when they separate, where they fight, I really like worked out that scene with them. We dedicated a lot of energy in that scene, and I wanted them to. They had like a beautiful connection just right away, so I wanted the special parts to feel real. That was something that I was really out to get, and then there was like I was very open in the process of the shooting of the film for them to bring like small details and everything they could to own the characters and own the couple. So, for example, the thing that how Martin calls Bear to Vera, he calls her bear like all the time, like a nickname, like a tag name, like you know, and it's like very intimate thing of them. that actually well, like Nicolas actually came out with that. I said, I want he would call her a sweetie, and they said, I don't want to say sweetie, I want to say bear, like something. And I was, and then we started to use it everywhere, and things like that, like small jokes that they will come up with, like. And I was, hey, what can we say here? Like, I try to take the script, and as I was one of the writers, I could do it, and like break it a little, like shake it a little, like let's take this out, let's say it another way, on the dialogues, like change it. It's okay. It had to feel real over the exact words that were meant to be said. So what I tried is to keep. I always remember this this feeling that I got when I saw a film that's called Red Bear. It's from Un Oso Rojo, Adrián Caetano, an Argentine director. He had made a film. It has a lot of years, but he had made a film that was like this very like a detective, like a kind of thriller, where this was a man would come out from prison after having lost his wife during the. He was like a thief, and he was caught, and in the process of being he had his daughter with a woman, and in the process of being in jail, his wife leaves him, and actually finds another man. And the film is about him going back and like taking revenge for the people who led him in jail, and also like recovering a bit his wife, his daughter, relationship with his daughter, and it was very it felt like very local and very real, but at the same time it had like this detective or thriller genre feeling all the time. And I was like, how could he achieve like reality at the same time as a genre, like both things, how you see I don't know, some films and you feel, well, okay, that's a movie, that's not reality, they don't talk like that in reality, and how sometimes you feel like, hey, this feels real. So that balance between two things, right? Reality and also fiction, but fiction that feels in a genre that you know and you feel comfortable with, but also feels real. That was very interesting. And I tried to get there in some sort of way. Don't know if I got that, but I try. I aim there at least.
I think I think you completely achieved it, and everything is made much more legible and acceptable and comprehensible when you have, I guess, the connection or chemistry of the talent or the actors on screen who are reciting these lines, and they make them feel lived in and authentic and based off of a relationship. I had a discussion with some actors a few Q&As ago, and they told me this really fascinating, I guess, I don't know what type of acting technique this is, but they each pretended to be like an animal throughout the whole movie. So like one person's character was like, I am a work horse. So what would a work horse do? Or I'm a fox. One was a kangaroo who bought like a boxing kangaroo. So that really started like that really got me thinking, like, how does on-set chemistry between performers really happen? And is it through these exercises? I don't know that if your film had any of these exercises. But yeah, as a director, like, how do you harness that chemistry and how do you make it translate on screen with your actors? Or were they all just naturally gifted and that was it?
They are naturally gifted, but
Okay.
but we worked a lot about it, around it. the first thing that is that I had very much luck about it, because they knew that they were going to shoot 3 movies the same year I shot mine together, and due to a thing that's very unfortunate, that is like we had a big issue in Argentina. We depend a lot of the Institute of Cinema, which donates loans for the films to be made, and we were all depending on it. And the 2 previous films didn't get it, and mine was the third one actually got it, and we were lucky about it. But besides that they had like this expectation, like a year before shooting the film, that they were going to work together, and they had started like trying to know each other, sending messages, but they haven't met yet. Actually, the first time they met, it was very, very funny, because they showed up dressed in matching colors. She had a black top, and he had like black jeans, and they were wearing the same color in the same light blue in his shirt, and her pants. So it was very, very, very funny that they were like matching colors. It was very funny. We took a picture. Couldn't believe it. But that's like a small anecdote. But the thing is, we started rehearsing, and the first thing that I tried to speak with both of them was the idea that they had to feel real in a 7-year relationship, which is not the same physically, especially physically, with another person. When you there's this concept, this thing, I don't know how to call it, but that when you're in a long relationship with another one, the way you address their body is like you own it. Like in a relationship, in a long relationship, both participants own each other's bodies in a way. They are not eager. They are not like throwing themselves over the other one. That generally happens the first 6 months or first year or 2, but 2 years is kind of
yeah, that's a long time. That's a long honeymoon.
Yeah, but let's make it a year. But you have like this way of touching each other, like and we started like making this kind of exercises around that. And also there was this another thing that I think they like knew that they had to do it too. So like whenever like they had to, I don't know, they had parked the cars together, and I had the car on the other side, and say, well, I like to see you together, and go together, talk your things. I won't mess with you. Like I did a little jokes, and always like talked about how happy, show them how happy I was about them, like bonding together and talking about together. Like every time I just like laid it there, so that they would like know that I was after that, in a way. And it was like pushing them a bit, right? And then there was like this incredible chemistry that could or could not happen, and in this case it happened, so I was very happy about it.
Yeah, and I mean, for me, when I was watching the film, it felt like literal like sparks. I don't know. I believe their relationship. I don't know how much of it was. I mean, a lot of it obviously was the acting, the directing, the screenplay. Everything seemed to come together or converge in such a great way. I didn't ask you this last week, or maybe I did, but maybe I phrased it differently. But I guess what sort of, artistic statement or like artistic thesis do you have as a director that you'd like to impart on viewers through your films? If you could like put it like in a nutshell, what would your artistic statement be?
That's like a big question.
Is it like a tough question?
Yeah,
Sorry.
but it's a good question. I will be brutally honest, and I will say that as a director, I think that I've yet to get there. You know, as one. This is my first movie, and even though I've directed a lot of short films, and I've directed a web series before, and everything. I found myself in this particular situation to I wasn't like as creatively comfortable as I thought I would be when I got to direct my first movie. So there was like a lot of pressures that I had to deal with during the process of the movie, schedule, budget, everything that you learn when you're a director, that you're like administrating a lot of things, and most of the most boldest decisions that I had for the movie were like miled down a bit. So there are a lot of things that I'm being brutally honest here, that I thought I couldn't take to the edge of of things. Obviously, it has to do with me, with having had the opportunity of taking them even forward, but thinking but taking your question, besides like taking not only for this movie but for film in general, I think that I actually like wrote it to myself for every project I write, that it's like you have to create a world over a very clear conflict, and trying every time to push through a narrative, having a kind of pushing any kind of narrative decision forward, trying to display the best mise en scène that you can do, as original as possible, and every chance you have, try to push the language, understanding that we have a language, that film is a language, that images and sound are language. This is we have to push the language forward and try to in the way in any chance we have to take any bold decisions, and try to be as original as possible, and try to tell things from the heart. I centered myself, I believe, in this movie, as I said, maybe I was wrong about it, but I tried to focus on actors being the best they could, and I focused even less in all the camera work and all the work as a director. I try to show off less as a director than as an actor as director in any case. And I tried overall to tell a good story, like tell it in the best way possible, and even as I took it as a first feature, actually, because I like tried to. I had a friend. I don't know if I'm extending a lot with this, but you tell me.
No, keep going. Yeah, no, I'm fascinated. Keep going.
I was a bit overwhelmed. The first, I always thought that when I got to direct my movie, I would have like, I don't know, like a month, for example, of pre-production, or I actually had 3 weeks, and in the first week I was still rewriting the project, and I actually didn't have physical time to actually sit down and plan the shooting list for each day. So, but I had the idea of the essence of the scenes, so I could that was not a problem actually. But I had this idea that I will have time to like watch movies, look for references, like try to think 3 or 4 ways to shoot the same scene, and that actually never happened. Actually, didn't have any time. I was like going to scoutings and rehearsing and recording the song of the movie that she sing, that we had to have it before the shooting, and I was running everywhere, and I loved it actually. But there was a moment where I sat down with a friend of mine that's actually now living in Barcelona, and I need to talk to someone like outside of the craziness, and he said, gave me two advices, but I'm gonna stick with one of them. He said, don't be epic. Like, don't be epic. Like, I was like, this is my first movie. This is not your work. Don't think as your work. This is a movie. The end of the day, it's just a movie. And in the best case scenario is that this is the worst movie that you will ever make. In the sense that this will be your worst movie because you're gonna make better ones, And so that's two ideas that doesn't sound very good at the first, but when you think about them, they are like they allow me to blow off steam, stopped for a moment and think about it, and like, okay, he's right. Like, I'm gonna make better movies than this one. I could look forward. Like, how when you're in the middle of the stress moment, that you like think that the world's gonna end, and someone that, hey, look, in 2 weeks you won't remember this moment. Like in 2 moments you will laugh at this moment. Well, it was a bit like that. That was a bit like the feeling of that conversation we had, and that actually gave me strength to wake up the next morning with more energy and say, well, I'm gonna accept that the movie will be what the movie will be, because what happens in cinema is like, I started expecting that the second part of the film would be shot with anamorphic lens, and the first part will. And I would be able to use like Super 8 and Super and footage, and I wanted to make some stop motions for the first part, and there were like all these ideas that I had like in my bag of ideas, or I wanted to throw them all in the movie, and they were all getting rejected because of budgets hey, we cannot shoot that scene because it doesn't fit in the, okay, you have to cut off the script, and I had all that kind of things, and but actually I think that's reality. I was at the I heard an interview that they did to this director, Christopher Nolan, a guy that made a few movies, and he was saying that you'll never have enough budget. He said it doesn't matter how big your movie, because the movie you're writing for that budget will be bigger than the budget will let you be. So if you have like a lot of budget, your movie will still be bigger than that budget. You'll always have to you'll always want more than the budget will allow you to. So, and coming from a guy like Christopher Nolan that makes like such big movies, like, so well, maybe there's something there, right? and it's about how we try to find another way through.
Thank you for being so candid and honest with that answer. You know, making films it seems like a very challenging thing to do. I've never made one, but through that hard work, I think a good director makes it all seem light or seamless. And I think that this film is that. All this hard work or these difficulties you were having behind the scenes, they don't really translate on screen, which
Yeah.
is cool when you don't see a film that's overworked. And watching your movie, even though I don't know that you would classify it as like a screwball comedy, but it did have some sort of like kinetic energy to it that, like, in essence, that I would get when I saw like Bringing Up Baby or like What's Up Doc. There was like an element of that, like either in the dialogue or in the pacing or something.
Yeah.
That seems to indicate that you have a pretty like solid handle on a directorial style, I guess, which is why I asked you about like the artistic statement. But I really appreciate you being so honest about how sometimes you have to take a step back and be reminded that it's a movie, or it's maybe not it's only a movie, but it's the worst movie you could ever make.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that. Sebastián, we're reaching the end of our allotted time, but do you have anything you'd want to share with our viewers or listeners about the process of making the film, or something that we didn't get a chance to talk about? You know, feel free to say anything.
I wanted to say a couple of things. One of course, that I mean, it's not. I'm glad. Thank you for those kind words about the movie. I appreciate them a lot. It's the movie's been in 3 festivals so far, and this is the first time I have the opportunity to talk with someone in the festival because
COVID.
Because of COVID. Actually, the other opportunity would have been in China, which would make it all harder. So, but I want to say 2 things that maybe I like dodged in a way. On the other hand, I'm very happy about the movie. There's a lot of me in the movie. I know that, and probably another thing my friend said is that you won't know how much of you is in the movie until like 10 years have passed and you watch it again. You know, like, and besides that, I'm very happy with the movie because I feel like the movie it's well paced. Like you said, I really enjoy it watching it, and I think that it has a like naive-ish kind of thing, and in some way, but it's like it's still honest and it's still sweet. And I didn't mention something that is super important about the movie. That's the incredible luck regarding the cast and the crew I had. Because at the second day, besides all this, like all those inner struggles that I was telling you about, I try to I enjoy being on set when there's like a good vibe around, and I had the best of luck with the people that I had a meeting with the DOP where he had read the script and he didn't know if I was gonna pick him to be the DOP, but he had read the script and he had agreed to meet up with me. And when we sat down for the coffee, like he wanted to make the movie, and I was like so thrilled about it. Because someone who wanted to make the movie, it was not about like someone getting a job. He wanted to make this movie with me. Like he had understood all the references, and the same happened with the assistant director, and they were like loving people. The Mariano Suarez, the DOP, and Jorge Caracoche, the assistant director. And then I had the best production designer, that's Andrea Benitez, which she had like $2 to make entire sets, and like she was like breaking her head to think how she could like manage and that I think I was blessed with the crew I had. I and the second of shooting, the one of the producers came, the main producers, and he had been in previous shootings. He had like also experience, and he looked at me, and we were on the middle of changing a take, and he said like, "Hey, like I've been on a lot of sets, and this is the first time I'm in a set, and it's all relaxed and smooth, and everyone's happy. What are you doing?" And at the end of and the cast was also amazing. All of the cast, I had the chance of working with a lot of people, a lot of actors and actresses that I wanted to work, and they were all like so like great in their roles. I felt like I felt so grateful throughout all the process because of the people that were in it, and it was a blessing. And we were. I think I was here in a part of the Q&A that was before, where you talked with the people of Tumemanques, and they talked about how there was a family in the shooting, and it's not so common. And I know it's not so common because there were like some of the crew had friends working in another shooting at the same time as we, and they were like fighting and hating each other and wanting to leave, and they couldn't believe that we were all going so smooth, and we were all going well, but actually felt the same, that I felt very identified with what they said about how you feel like within a family when you're in a shooting and everything's going well, and you're all working on the same direction. And at the end of the shooting, in the wrap-up party, I talked to one of the crew members, a grip, who said that he thanked me because he said that that the kind that a director can choose a shot or direct actors or anything, but another job of the director is the mood and the climate that you feel when you are on a set, and that he was so that they all felt so happy working there and felt so good throughout the process, and he said that I was to thank for that. I on the other hand, I said I'm just so grateful that you were all like working in the movie and being so loving about it. And so I don't know if he was right or not or wrong about it, but what I felt is that I was so blessed of the crew that helped me throughout the movie, because and I feel that you see that when you see the film. It's a comedy, and it's a romantic film, and besides that, I some crew members would talk to me about the scenes where, you know, how people have relationships when they are in shootings, and they also have girlfriends, and they have the same kind of discussions that the movie has inside. So one of them will tell me, "Hey, when this movie comes out, I want my girlfriend to see it." You know, like because she can understand what we have to see it together, and they actually like relate to the plot. So it was a blessing to have the crew and the cast that I had in this movie, and they were all so loving, and I only have to thank them for I think all the good result is of the movie is because of them. It's because of all the love. It was a movie made with a lot of love. It's a movie about love made with a lot of love. So that's and I mean it in all the in all the levels of meaning that can have. So
Well, they had a great captain at the helm guiding the ship
I
through with a steady hand.
I don't know if the hand was steady or if the captain was great, but he was loving. Actually, he was at least loving about it.
That's all that matters, I think. Well, Sebastián, thank you so much for sharing Amor de Película with us at our festival. Such a pleasure talking to you today. Such a pleasure talking to you last week. I hope that one day we can meet at a festival. Hopefully I get to screen one of your movies and we get to meet in person and have a discussion in person with an audience. Just, I guess, the way films are meant to be,
Of course.
enjoyed and seen. But thank you so much for everything. I appreciate you so much.
Thank you, Moises. Thank you, everyone at the festival. It was a pleasure being here. I'm very grateful about this, and very grateful for the opportunity of being able to talk to you and discuss the movie. And I'm very grateful for your words about the movie. So thank you.
It's really been a pleasure. All the best to you, and can't wait for your next movie. Hopefully soon.
Of course, soon.
Talk to you later. Bye bye.
Thank you, Moses. Thank you.